morning, and welcome to the fourth period AP Government News Hour. This is Megan Garner
and Ivana Kenwood,
and today we have a special news report.
That's right, Megan. Very special indeed. Today we will be studying the process of policymaking in our government.
As an example, we'll be using the recent Healthcare Reform Bill, also known as the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. Here to report is a specialist from Washington, D.C., Susan Ames.
Thank you, Megan. To begin, I should explain how policies such as healthcare reform get started. First, someone has to set the agenda. The political agenda for a policy is the most important decision in affecting policy making. It basically means deciding which issues need government action. The agenda can be set by interest groups, the media, the states, or institutions such as the Senate, the courts, or the bureaucracy. In the recent case of healthcare reform, the agenda was set by the Democratic 111th Congress and the Obama administration. The media called attention to the complaints American citizens had with the healthcare system, and current President Barack Obama responded with the promise of change during both his campaign and his presidency. Congress then wrote the legislation. The next step in policy making would be making a decision on how to balance the costs and benefits. The costs being the burdens that people believe they will bear if a policy is enacted, and the benefits being the satisfaction that people believe they will enjoy if a policy is adopted. This balance is sometimes misunderstood by the public because of different perceptions of costs and benefits, such as consumers not realizing that the benefits they are receiving are actually paid for by them in the forms of higher prices or taxes on a product. People are also concerned whether it is legitimate for a group to benefit. Politics is in a large measure a process of raising and settling disputes over who will benefit or pay for a program and who ought to benefit or pay. These are the kinds of issues faced by Congress and the Obama administration in creating the healthcare reform bill.
Thank you, Susan. The cost of the healthcare bill has been determined to be about $940 billion over the course of the next 10 years. And how will this be paid for? The answer is in the Medicare payroll tax, the excise tax, and the tanning tax. Starting in 2012, the Medicare payroll tax will be expanded to unearned income such as interest, investments, and rent. There will be a 3.8% tax on investment income for families who earn more than $250,000 per year and $200,000 for individuals.
The excise tax, beginning in 2018, will be a tax requiring insurance companies to pay a 40% tax on high-end insurance plans worth over $27,500 for families and $10,200 for individuals. The tanning tax will be a 10% excise tax on indoor tanning services. Sorry, Snicky. The benefits of the reform bill are said to include expanded coverage to 32 million Americans who are currently uninsured. To individuals and families who are between the 133% and the 400% poverty level will be able to purchase insurance through state-based exchanges with subsidies. Funding to the states will be made available within 1 year of enactment and until January 1st, 2015.
6 months after the enactment, insurance companies will not be allowed to deny children coverage based on a pre-existing condition. Starting in 2014, they will not be allowed to deny anybody with pre-existing conditions. They also must allow children to be under their parents' insurance plans until the age of 26. Also, the Congressional Budget Office has estimated that this bill will reduce the country's deficit by $143 billion over the course of the next 10 years, and $1.2 trillion over the second 10 years. The bill also stated that no health care plan would be required to provide abortion coverage, and that the states would decide whether or not to offer it themselves. There are also reforms being made in Medicare and Medicaid, benefiting the elderly and the poor.
Now let's go to a specialist in the politics of policymaking, Jasmine Mirza.
Thank you, Ivana. There are 4 types of policymaking politics: majoritarian politics, interest group politics, client politics, and entrepreneurial politics. Entrepreneurial politics is the policy in which almost everybody benefits and a small group pays.
And that would be like the healthcare reform bill, right, Jasmine?
That is correct, because almost all of America will benefit from this new policy, but only people making above a certain amount of money must be taxed, as well as insurance and drug companies. The second type is majoritarian politics, when almost everybody benefits and almost everybody pays.
This is the kind of policy that Social Security is, right, Jasmine?
Correct. It has to be a policy that appeals to a large block of voters, and interest groups do not really get involved because of the free rider problem majoritarian politics creates. There's little incentive to join a group on a policy that affects you, even if you do not contribute much. The third type is interest group politics, a policy in which one small group benefits and another small group pays. This policy causes great incentive to mobilize on either side of the argument because the issues are usually fought interest group versus interest group.
A current example of this is the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. The original policy basically stated that no one would ask about or disclose their homosexuality in the military. If it was revealed that a person was gay either by them or by someone else, that person would be subject to being removed from the military.
Recently, Defense Secretary Robert Gates has eased the enforcement of this policy, saying these new rules reflect common sense and common decency. The new rules say that the accuser must provide more evidence to prove that someone is gay, and that higher-ranking officials are now in charge of the dismissal proceedings. The interest groups in conflict here are the gay rights advocates versus those who support Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Right, and the next type is client politics, when almost everybody pays and one small group benefits. The group receiving these benefits has strong incentive to work for them, while those paying may be unaware or uncaring because the cost is so spread out. Common ways of implementing client politics are pork barrel legislation and log rolling. Clients may not always have economic interests, but instead may want improvements. For example, in addition to the legislation being passed, a city could receive a better harbor or a new irrigation system, giving voters incentive to approve the legislation. Log rolling basically means, if you do something for me, I'll do something for you. So if an official supports another's legislation, the other would return the favor.
Thank you, Jasmine. A current example of this policy would be the renewable energies portion of the stimulus bill. The Recovery Act would use $27 million to outfit a public housing development in Washington, D.C. with solar panels. This also creates jobs in renewable energy, benefiting those out of work.
And this concludes our special report today. All of us here at the news station hope you have a pleasant day.
Goodbye!
Toodles!